Today I have a super fun video for you. In today's video I'm going to be zipping with Melanie Simon, the founder and creator of ZIIP. Melanie and I will be doing a treatment together while answering your most asked questions on microcurrent. And of course Melanie is going to give us some tips and tricks on how to get the most out of our ZIIP or microcurrent treatment. So without further ado, let's zip with Melanie Simon. Melanie, it's so great to have you. I feel like I already know you because I see you so frequently on the app.
So good to be here. I hope it feels like you are connecting with me through the app. I hope it feels genuine.
It definitely does, yeah.
Good.
So you and I are going to zip together today. And while we're doing that, you're going to show us some tips and tricks, and we're going to answer some questions I get quite frequently about microcurrent.
Perfect. So we're going to start out with the main treatment that's on the halo. This is a quick 4-minute treatment. We're not going to do it the way I say to do it in the directions. We're going to freestyle a bit more. And we're going to do the whole 4 minutes on this side, and then we'll go do the whole 4-minute treatment on the second side. And this is something I recommend to people that also want to include the neck, because who doesn't want the neck and the jawline included? I have to include that. That's super important for me. Now, remember, when you're treating the neck, you're avoiding this area where the thyroid is. So think of like a big butterfly right here. So that's why when I work the neck, I'm only going to hold it vertical and I'm going to be pulling like this. And then when I move up, anything where your chin connects to your neck right here, this area on the side, we can absolutely treat that. So that's why we're going to go longer. But we're simply going to go with that the treatment that is on this. And it is both microcurrent and nanocurrent. So we are getting both. So we're going to turn it on and hear that little beep. You're going to see the band is barely glowing. And then when you connect both probes, that's what makes it start. You're going to feel the zzz in the device. It vibrates to let you know, hey, keep moving. Now, I like to move a little bit faster sometimes than the actual zzz. Faster gives me a bit more of a sculpt, where the slow waiting it out gives it more of a, if I go slow like this, I'm working the muscle more. If I go a little bit faster, I'm getting a better lymphatic drain. So I want both. I want to pull and get that. I really want to get the sculpt, but I also want that lift. So I'll go slower there and wait for the to go again. That's your timer. It's almost like a cadence, like go, go. But again, you can move faster than it.
Okay, that's great to know. Now, Melanie, tell us really fast, what is microcurrent and nanocurrent?
Microcurrent, micro millionth. Micro is 1/1,000,000th of 1 amp, which is a teeny tiny bit of electricity. Nanocurrent is 1/1000,000th of 1 amp. So it's even smaller than microcurrent. It's very similar to what the brain sends out to the body to tell it what to do. So here's the difference. Micro, I say it's like the candy, now and later. Microcurrent gives you results right now. Nanocurrent is going to give you results later. I always see those results from the microcurrent or the nanocurrent the next day. Micro, I'm going to see right now. So I got the beep, but I'm not moving to the other side. I'm staying over here. And now I'm going to, I'm also, when I'm making my strokes, you notice I've been slowly moving up the face. I'm going to make sure I'm hitting that brow, and I want to really get a good lift out of that brow. I also like this move. You'll see I'm pulling my lip up, coming around, and then I'll hit the brow and pull all the way up. That's kind of one of my signature moves. There's lots of different ways to do it. Don't get hung up on the have to hold it this way or that way. It doesn't matter where, up, down. It's all alternating current on this program. So just wanted to show that technique. Nanocurrent, it's much more like I said, the whole human body is run off of electrical frequencies that are signals from the brain that tell the body to do everything. And that nano range is definitely the area that I love the most, no doubt about it. Nanocurrent. So we got the double beep. So, but you can see this side for me already, and let's see you, Claudia.
Yeah, you know, this right eyebrow is always lower on me, and it's
Yes.
actually the same height now. So, yeah, I can
I'm
see a
just
difference.
showing from side to side for me right now. And we did the full 8 minutes on this side. That's the game changer, honestly. Okay, so now I'm just going to turn it back on, and I'm going to do the same thing over here, and we'll continue the question. So see, I've got it vertical. I've turned it back on, and I'm just pulling and holding right behind my ear. You can really, these are big lymph nodes. There's tiny lymph nodes all over. The big guys are all around this ear, the side of the face, the side of the neck, under here, here. So you're really going to feel that lymph node when you're working this. There's no doubt about that. You're going to feel the zzz.
Yeah, I am. I can definitely feel it. I'm so glad you're showing us the neck, because honestly, I have neglected the neck. Because there is that fear of, can you do it on the neck because of the thyroid? So I'm really glad you're showing us how to do the neck.
I mean, and look at my arms. This is what I would look like. I've not done anything for my arms. I've been doing micro and nanocurrent for 20 years on my face. And I've gotten really good about the neck probably in the last 10 years, making it a huge priority. But you could just see the difference in this chest skin. People will say, oh, you genetically have good skin. And I do. My mom has amazing skin, but I grew up on the lake in the sun, going snowboarding on the ski. I thought it was cool to have a goggle tan, but you can see the difference between taking care and not taking care. Anyways, nanocurrent's going to give you, I always say it's like your skin's life insurance policy. It's a safety net, and it's like banking for the future. But you will, no matter what age you are, you're going to absolutely wake up the next day and go, it's just, you'll think, oh, it really does work. What she said, it really does work. But everybody has to have that aha moment themselves, because nanocurrent you can't feel. So this treatment, the lift, I call it dual waveform, because there was the beat, but we're staying over here, and now we're going to include the eye. I include both. So I would say something like 75% microcurrent and 25% nanocurrent, this treatment. So you're not even feeling the nanocurrent waves, because you can't feel nanocurrent. It's that gentle. The microcurrent is what you're feeling, but you're still getting that 25% nanocurrent on this treatment. So what's happening? Micro is lifting the muscle. This particular waveform I have on here in the micro range, I'm pumping the lymph nodes 60 times per second. That's the frequency. And then the nanocurrent, the skin cells respond to it, I believe. And there's a lot of science around nanocurrent and bone repair. The orthopedic realm has been using nanocurrent for quite some time now to encourage the regrowth and the knitting together of the bone to happen much faster. As far as the skin goes, there's not as much scientific research out there. So when I say this is my educated guess. I believe what happens with nanocurrent is that the skin cells recognize it as being in the same realm of the messages that it would get from the brain. And so the skin cells actually go and start to do what they're supposed to do, which is what? Making collagen. It's more elastic. It's got better elasticity. It pushes waste out and pulls nutrients in, which is what a healthy cell would do. So that's why you need the time to see the result. Your body's going to go and respond to it, and then you get to actually see what the nanocurrent gave you. So I got my BB side to side. Now, another thing I want to throw out there with this, I will get done doing exactly what I just did. I'll look at myself and think, I might need a little bit more here. Or I feel like this eye isn't as strong as this eye. you can absolutely just turn it back on. And
Okay.
then wherever your problem area was that you wanted to see a better, you could just do you some more time in that area. So for
So
you, Claudia, where do you feel right now you might have any unevenness?
I feel like my right side is always a little bit different from the left. My lip is a bit crooked. But it seems like this is actually evened it out a tiny bit. But my problem area, right, is my jowls. So I love your jowl program. I will do the jowl program and I will do the whole program on one side and then turn it
Yes.
on again and go to the other side. But that's something I wanted to ask you. Can we overdo it? Let's say, because I love to do this. I watch a YouTube video and I
So
just do it. Can I overdo it? If I want to do this for half hour to an hour, can I overdo it and actually achieve the opposite?
there's a few important things. So right now I can see you've got good blood flow happening right where you're really working. Once you start to see that, and I flush as well. You can definitely see I flush. Plus I've got a mag light on, so you could literally see my blood vessels through my skin right now, and I'm sure you've got really bright light as well. What I would say I don't like it when, first off, let me lay this out. Microcurrent above 500 microamps can actually, it's like anything. It's like vitamin C. It's like literally anything. A certain amount is excellent for you. If you overdo it, it's bad for you. Once you get higher than 500 microamps, instead of making more ATP, you can start to burn the ATP out faster, which leads to a lot of people could say, am I going to see my fat pads burning out? Or am I going to am I going to be exhausting my cells? Yes. When you do things that are too strong, they absolutely can burn the cell out, which is why for me, I like to play in the lower realm of microcurrent and then down into nanocurrent. There is no treatment available on my ZIIP app that even gets anywhere near 500 microamps. I don't even allow you, it's not possible to do. But when you're doing this, and if you're doing muscle stimulation, which is micro, like we just did, ideally you want to give especially when you're doing it twice and then layering others on like we're doing, I want to give myself a day's, think of your workout. You would then go work another muscle in the gym, or you'd move to cardio or something else. It's good to have that day off the next day. Now, nanocurrent is different. Nanocurrent, and if you want an only nanocurrent treatment, you would go onto the app, turn the app on, look for Founder's Favorite because it's my favorite, click that, and then you're going to turn your device on and hit start treatment. Now you want to hear your device go beep, beep, beep 3 times. That means you've now completely wiped off the lift and you have whatever you just chose on your device. It can only do 1 treatment at a time. So I would have you go and do Founder's Favorite. Now that one is different. You don't feel anything. You're not going to see flushing. It's more like you're putting a signal into your skin cells and your body will respond to that. You can do that one, and it's a 10-minute program. I'll do that one once, twice. If I'm just sitting there, it's so easy. You don't have to follow a routine like the other treatments. You can just, and you can freeform on this one too, but you'll notice it's just gentle. You don't feel anything. You can just I tell people, just zone out. There's no rules on this one. Just kind of do what you want to do. What you want to keep in mind is you're trying to, you just want to get it into the skin cells evenly. So think if you were literally had a highlighter, what you would want to be highlighting all these different areas, and it's going to vibrate every 10 seconds, but you can move slower than that. The zzz is just to let you know, hey, maybe move along. That's what it's trying to let you know. So you could just go nice and slow. This you cannot overdo. When I do my professional treatments, I'll book out a 3-hour appointment, and a big chunk of that time is nanocurrent. It's like I said, because it's so in sync with the human body, you're just not going to get those other byproducts like I was talking about. And that is my whole motto. Try to do what is most natural with the human body. The alternating current, which means there's no up or down, doesn't matter which way you hold it because it's just running a circle all the way through, is definitely better for the skin and the body in the long term. Do I use directional current, which means, okay, you have to hold it this way because you've got a ground and that's your life? Yes, but I use it only on the program, the problem solver, which I'm trying to get rid of the blemishes. I'm trying to get the bacteria out of there. And I have very strict rules on that one. And PS, if anybody wants to, it's free. You can download the ZIIP Beauty app, ZIIP Beauty app, and watch the videos. You don't have to have a device. You could just sit and watch and listen to me talk about each different treatment, because every treatment is completely unique, electrically speaking. I build them. They're all different. There's no layover. If you see the brow treatment, that doesn't mean I just took out a part of one treatment and you're only doing it on the brow. It's a completely unique waveform combination that I find is best on the eyebrow to get that eyebrow stimulation.
So just to back it up, just so people really understand, so anything over 500 could possibly exhaust ATP, which means we could exhaust our fat pads.
Yep.
But the ZIIP doesn't even go that high. So even
Nope.
if I did the freestyle, if I have the time, and I'm going to do this
Yes.
5 times, there still wouldn't be the risk of burning fat because it doesn't go past 500. But it's still a good idea to give the body a break the next day. So just do it every other day.
Exactly.
Okay.
Do it every other day. The one that you could do more often is Founder's Favorite. That is exclusively nanocurrent. There's no microcurrent in that treatment.
Okay, that's great to know. What made you go into this? What made you want to design a nano and microcurrent device?
I've always been very much into skin and skincare and loved it. I got facials when I was very young. It's just something that I always loved. And I started at the deep end. I started with Biologique Recherche, which is, they're the top of the game. They make a product called P50 that a lot of people know about.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, you know it. I know.
Yeah,
I was super impressed. But you lived in Paris, so I knew you would know it, especially being in this realm. There's just nothing like that product line, Biologique Recherche. It's the best in the world. And their professional device, it's borderline medical. So I jumped straight into the deep end. Now that is all up in the micro range. I immediately saw, okay, whoa, this really gives an amazing result. How do I, and by the way, right now I'm pretending that I have Founder's Favorite on there at just nanocurrent. At this point, I would have done it twice, and then I would have gone back to do extra areas. One little thing, and so I don't want you, because I can tell you're stimulated, like you've got a good flush.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would say that you could come back and do, turn it back on. This is something I like to have people do right in the middle. If you have a chin that's kind of, you've got this, most of us have this happening.
What are you trying to say?
It really is
technic.
Like young 18-year-olds have it. Everybody's looking down constantly. And so now we've got this as a byproduct, right? It used to be the number one thing people would say is, I want this. Now the number one thing people say is, I want this. Part of that is that this muscle comes up and around like this. So I do like to come up, and I'm going to get both sides equally. So then I'll
will
come
that
back.
help with jowling as well?
Yes. When you said you love the program Jowls, I thought, well, then I need to show her this technique. It's also getting the middle as well as the jowls.
Mm-hmm.
The jowl program is very much like you're working out. You're doing the lifting, you're getting the muscle stimulation waveform, and then it doubles in intensity at the very end, just like you would if you were lifting. You would do that heavy couple of reps, and then that really helps you to build muscle. And I'm really having you work the attachments, which are holding this pad up. And that's very different than what we're doing right now. But this technique really does help with this area.
Good. That's good to know. You know, two of your programs are my favorite. The gel is one of them, but I like the plumping one because I am one that tends to get quite hollow. And the lip. And I've actually been accused of having lip filler lately. I wouldn't get filler at this point anymore with what we know about hyaluronic acid at this point. And it wouldn't look good on me. But the lip program, it really works. I do that before I film. And like I said, people have asked, have I had lip filler?
I will tell you this week in particular, because I had this video coming up, I was really zipping a lot. And I would put Founder's Favorite on, and I was checking emails, and I was kind of just sitting here like this, doing my emails. And I woke up from the first day of doing that, I woke up like this. And I thought, that's never me. I've never had that. And I went, whoa, I really feel different. So now every day that went on, I'm put the Founder's Favorite on, and I'm just sitting over each little zone. And there's no doubt, I feel like my whole mouth area looks different. And I could feel this very firm area every day I was waking up coming from the nanocurrent. The ZIIP lips treatment is completely different. So the ZIIP lips treatment, that waveform is actually a vasodilator, which means I relax the blood vessels so that you actually get more blood flow, and you'll feel it like a tiny little zzz. Do you? You have really, good blood flow. If you're someone who flushes, you're going to really see a huge difference when you use that treatment. For you right now, looking at your skin, Claudia, I wish we could pop out of this and we could put on Founder's Favorite. That's what I would go to for people that if you're even the tiniest bit sensitive, you're going to always want to bring that into the equation. Again, it's life insurance. No matter if something is going wrong with the skin, if it's, there's uneven skin tone, you have blemishes, you have melasma mask, you have rosacea, you have whatever it is, if something's going wrong, nanocurrent is your best defense, because your body already whatever is going wrong, it's because the skin cells aren't doing what they're supposed to do anymore. So when you're encouraging them to do the right thing with nanocurrent, they already know how to respond. It knows what needs to be regulated, right? So for me, it's not going to go on and work rosacea because I don't have that. But I do absolutely have always battled melasma and very bad cystic acne. And that was another thing. Once I started with the microcurrent, I noticed, oh, my pigment looks so much better. I'm not breaking out nearly as badly. And then, as you asked me what got me into this, I just went down the wormhole of why is this working? And read all of the scientific studies out there. That's what led me into all the research around the bone repair and nanocurrent. And I thought I have to include nanocurrent into my routine. And what happened was my first center was in Santa Barbara. And a woman named Gina Tullison used to have a column. It was called the A-List. And she had come in to try my treatment. And I gave her the treatment with only microcurrent. And she said, this is now, and not all microcurrents created equal at all. Biologique is amazing. It's like the best of the best. But she said, I've had this treatment before. I've written about it. And I said, well, I'm bringing also something called nanocurrent in that's going to be incorporated into this facial. And she said, my mom's coming Monday. So I'm going to bring her in because she's older than me. Gina had been Miss Universe. She was, I think, 28 at the time. So she said, I'll really be able to see it on my mom. So literally, I got on the phone and I had found one device that offered nanocurrent. And I said, if you can get this device here this weekend, you can train me, I'll purchase it right now. I just took the risk. And, you know, I thought, well, I don't feel this waveform. And then the next morning, I could really see the waveform after 40 minutes of that nanocurrent on my skin. There was no doubt about it. And I just spent all those days putting everything together. Her mom comes in, I do the treatment that I've been doing for quite some time with the microcurrent, and I incorporate the nano into it. And all I got back from her was a message that they were going to come and take a little picture of me for, you know, I thought like a little mention. I had just found out I was pregnant with my daughter, who's now 18 years old. So, you know, I'm managing my business. I've got a good amount, you know, like I've got what I can handle. Anyways, I'm standing to get a coffee in Santa Barbara, and it's the Sunday paper, and it's open like this, and it says A-list, and it's got my hands. It's a giant picture. It's the entire cover of the life section, and my phone's like in my pocket. And I thought, how am I gonna handle this? And it was just, that was it, that it just, everything launched. Then I was off into really bringing this into the national eye with national press. And, you know, I built my business and had multiple practices. And what I noticed, I would go between Jackson Hole, Los Angeles, Santa Barbara. I would have intensive times with my clients, and their skin would look amazing. And then I would leave or they would leave. And then I would go back to the other group and intensive times with them. And then I would leave and come back and see, oh man. And I just thought, what is out there that I can recommend for people to keep moving along with giving themselves that ATP pop that makes the collagen and elastin? Because we can't store it. We can't store what we know this gives to us. We just can't. And that's why at home can be so impactful if it's done right and you're using the right tool. And honestly, I tried. There was just nothing out there that, one, was safe enough in the right realm so that you wouldn't burn out. Like it was just saying. That was number one. And number two, there was nothing that nanocurrent is difficult because it's so tiny. Can you get it out of this probe through the skin, make it into the other probe without it just dispersing? That's very difficult. There was just nothing. And so I thought, I'm going to have to do this myself. And if I knew then what I know now, I don't know if I would have been as brave, because it's a big deal. You're getting FDA approval as a class 2 medical device. There's all the trademarking. There's all the clinical testing. There's just so much to do it right. So then I go down the rabbit hole. I'm going to do this. And I thought, I start meeting with engineers, and I'm getting these prototypes, and I'm thinking, this is just a knockoff of what's already out there. I'm just not doing that. And I was lamenting about it to my best friend. She's been my best friend since I was in preschool. And I just said, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And she said, why don't you talk to Dave, who's her little brother? I've known him since he was in diapers, you know, but he's working at Salesforce in Silicon Valley. He's a mechanical engineer. He's worked for the government building secret things. I don't even know to this day what they are. And I thought, why is he going to want to do this? He just also like had his second child, and he's not, being an startup entrepreneur is not what it's, I mean, it's like you're a starving artist for a long time. And I thought, he's not gonna, so he calls me and says, what are you doing? Tell me your idea. And immediately said, oh, you know, you could do all your multiple combinations if you brought it out with an app. And I thought, oh, and then that was just it. I said, do you want to do this with me? Yes, let's do it. And then we were the first app connected device to come onto the market. And still to this day, there is nothing like the technology that is built into this device. For instance, if I wanted to right now, you and I could talk. I could go and build a specific waveform just for you, film myself on the couch, send it to him. He would program it into the app. And now you could just go on the app, only you would see that picture. You'd click on it, beep, beep, beep. You'd have your own Claudia treatment that does just something.
I want that.
Right? Like there's nothing else out there like that.
Yeah. Well, when you and I talked yesterday, I told you I have several microcurrent devices, anywhere from I have one that's $1,000. I have the Pico toner, which is I think around that as well. I have the skin patch. I've tried New Phase. I've tried the Myolift. This is what I use
Yep.
because it gives me the best results. Now, to be honest, the skin patch is super easy to use. I pop it on and I can do other things. But I haven't seen the same results as with this because I can't target my lips. I can't do the plumping, which I love about this. So I had a couple of years ago when we lived in Paris, I went through a really stressful time. We lived in a moldy place. I got really sick. I lost a lot of weight, which I didn't even realize. And I had radiofrequency microneedling, which I think melted some of my fat. So looking back now at pictures, I looked horrible, but I didn't realize it because I saw myself all the time. I was really sunken in. So I went through Sculptra and Landuma, gave me good results. But I haven't had any since we left Paris. But people have asked me lately, several people have asked me, have you had more Sculptra or Landuma? No, it's the Plumping. It's the Plumping program.
You already have noticed that there's a specific treatment on the app that does something for you that you want. And that's why I'm saying those treatments, they're all completely unique. There's several things I pick when I'm building a waveform. I decide the shape. Is it going to be like this? Is it going to be square is really good for muscle. Sine's really good for bringing the blood. But how fast do I want it to hit? Do I want it to be boom, 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 like muscle, muscle, muscle? Or do I want bringing the blood, like, you're tapping the skin. That's going to bring blood to it, right? Those decisions are huge. The outcome of a waveform that's the same strength, same shape, that's slow versus fast is night and day. So each one of those little tweaks, and this is what I learned, having done this professionally for 20 years, when I can turn on my machines and build and change, and I can see right on my client, whoa, I have major blood flow with this waveform on everybody. Huge wave. What am I doing differently that I'm just seeing that increased flow, seeing that increased plumpness? And that is why those treatments, whatever they say they do, they really do. And I didn't just make it once. I probably went through 40 versions to get it perfect before I bring it to you all. I love hearing that somebody has a favorite, like you love the plump because you absolutely see that happening. And that's the specific thing you're going to get.
Yeah. Yep. I do the gel first and then the plump. And that is a great combination. I don't ever do the brow, to be honest, because I have a little bit of Botox, because I have a crazy frown line. I look like Mark Wahlberg when I have Botox. But would you suggest somebody, if they have a bit of Botox in their forehead, still to do the brow program or just leave it alone?
So here's the thing about the forehead. So when you've got like a little bit of Botox in there, or you've got a lot of Botox, and let's say it's not, let's say you've got so much Botox, you're not moving at all. Don't you still want a pillowy fat pad? Like I have noticed as I've aged that this is not nearly as soft, or the pad has shrunk. The density of the skin has gotten thinner. So you 100% want collagen boosting here. You want it thicker, right? So I wouldn't do brow lift, but I would absolutely, when I'm doing if I just turned on and did the lift, I'm going to hit this. Let me go back. If I'm doing the lift and I've got a lot of Botox here, I'm not going to focus a ton of time right here, but do not leave it out. Please just make sure that you're hitting it to some degree, because you want to be cumulatively building that up, and there is nanocurrent in the lift. But I would go on and do founder's favorite, and just, if this is important to you like it is me, I would just, you don't have to do the full 5 and 5. You could just kind of hit this area and just make sure that that pad is getting some love, because it just makes a giant difference.
So we have established that the ZIIP doesn't melt fat, but can it actually help rebuild some fat? Since we're talking about the fat pads?
Again, and this is why nanocurrent is my favorite, and the treatment is called founder's favorite, because so I've been doing a lot of treatments in the past week leading up to this. And I did spend a lot of time like hitting the lift like this, right? And then I would put Founder's Favorite on. And like I said, I was just kind of zoning out around this area. And I noticed, whoa, my lips feel really plump, but this feels like this. So I got the building in here and on this whole under zone right here because I sat so long. Multiple days I had just a very similar technique. I just really kept the Founder's Favorite in this area a lot because I was doing other things at the same time. But when I was doing the lift, I was really carving this out. And I've been waking up like feeling like this and feeling like I had more density in this whole area, like that fat pad was rejuvenated. And now, even as I'm always learning as I'm interacting and watching myself on the camera and talking to you. I'm thinking, okay, the next time I go do Founder's Favorite, I'm going to really focus in on this because I feel like it doesn't look as plump as this area does down here because I didn't give it the attention.
Now, you also said earlier that nanocurrent has been shown to help with bone healing. So as we age, we know that we are losing some bone in the face, which makes things hang and drag. So would nanocurrent help with that, sort of that keeping a little bit of that bone mass in the face, do you think? I know you don't have studies on that, but what are your thoughts on it?
I was just going to say that. We know for sure that it helps the bone knit together faster. There's just no denying that. The question would be, does it make it all the way? Because electricity takes the path of least resistance. So when I see people with like, they've got two little tiny Q-tip like things, you're getting one line, zzz, 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 right? That's what you're hitting, which is why I made sure that this was kind of cupping the face so that it's forced. And that's why I also like to make sure I've got the bone between the probes anywhere there's bone, because you're forcing it to go through more of the skin. I mean, I used to, on one of my professional treatments, I would have like this, a probe in the mouth and a probe on the outside to make sure I know it's going all the way through. That's important. There's no way around it. Electricity takes the path of least resistance. I can't speak to anything about bone as that's not my specialty, but when I'm doing something like this, I've got a much better chance of it getting to a lower level. I've got a much better chance for it to do something like that, if that's something you're concerned with. As you can see, I'm really holding it between those two probes. And I also, gravity is your friend on this. I like to lean into it so that, you're getting more, you're just getting even more. And these are silly little technique things, but when I'm working on a client, I would turn their head to the side I want them draining, and I've got that gravity. And then when I'd go to the other side, I'd turn them back this way. And now I'm going to get that good cupping on this side.
I'm glad you mentioned the word draining, because even though we have established, and I've heard this before from the founder of Skin Patch, that she said under 600, but you say under 500, which is even safer.
You do not want to be going above 500, period, on your face. Absolutely not.
But even though we know this, I still have some people, no, the ZIIP melted my fat. But my theory is they were draining some lymph fluid, and that's what made them look a little bit more sculpted. What do you think?
100%. This circuit board, as I said, I can do 20 million combinations. I've hard built this or hardwired it so it cannot even go beyond 400 microamps. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. But there's no doubt about it. Here's how it works. Ideally, your lymphatic system is like a waterfall. It's just flowing out, and this is right here and here, and the same spots on the back is then where it goes into the excretory system so you can urinate it out, which is why you have to work backwards like a dam, because you need all these areas. Let's say I want to drain my eye. Well, both areas need to be clear on the way down, or else it's just going to go get trapped somewhere else. And then what happens? As it's getting trapped, it builds up like a pond. This is what jowls are. It builds up like a pond. It's a dirty pond. And then it's just building pond scum, and it's sitting and sitting and sitting. And most people, it's right here because it's very hard. These are tinier lymph nodes. The big guy is over here. It's harder to get it up and over. How are you going to do that? And that's why I do like the fact that people are learning about lymphatic drainage and at least doing the massage and getting things going. This, think of it. It's magnetic. So it's pulling that dirty lymph water and then it's bringing it over here to the big guy. And then I said it's pumping 60 times per second. There's no way that could be achieved with, right? So it's like, it is pumping it big time. So you're pulling and now it's draining. Yes, what's going to happen? You're going to wake up like this because the pond scum is gone. You don't want the pond scum. It's not fat. A better way to see that rejuvenation in this area would be to sit and only do nanocurrent. Just do founder's favorite in this area over and over and over again. And I guarantee you, you will wake up feeling like, oh, wow, I really see a difference. I promise you, you have to try it and you will see what I'm talking about. And I tell people who are skeptical about nanocurrent because you can't feel nanocurrent. So it's sort of like a leap of faith. Is this really doing anything? I feel nothing. I always say, if you do founder's favorite twice in a row, which is a 20-minute commitment, and you wake up the next morning and you don't see anything, then hey, send it back. It's, you know, whatever you need to do, but it's not going to happen. It's a game changer.
I honestly have never tried Founder's Favorite. I'm for sure going as soon as we hang up. That's another thing I love. Your gel, I still feel that it's wet. I mean, you can actually use this if you want to forever, and it doesn't dry out, which is really lovely.
Exactly. The gel is very sophisticated as well, which I won't go rambling about it, but it's very important that the right amount soaks in. There's electrolytes in the gel and active ingredients in all of the gels that you purchase. They have active ingredients. The one that comes with the device it's the base of the others. So that's why it's more affordable. It makes your treatment amazing. You're not getting the active ingredients, but the base of all of them, the right amount soaks in with electrolytes so that you're pulling the current into the skin, and the right amount stays on the top so that you've got good slip and it's not drying out. Dried out gel would be another problem. If that is happening to people with any microcurrent device, that could become dangerous. If your gel is drying out and flaky and it doesn't keep the slip, it's a big problem.
I have this mask that I really love. It's by Goose. I don't know if you know it. I use that sometimes instead of the gel. And I tested it with the old ZIIP, and it does conduct because the old ZIIP doesn't light up unless it's conducting.
Correct.
So I use that sometimes. But I have to say, using this today, I could feel the current going all the way into my forehead, which I don't honestly feel with this one. So I do think this is giving me a bit more bang for the money.
100%.
But do you have any alternatives for people? Because money is tight for a lot of people right now. If they have the device, but don't want to purchase a gel, can they just use aloe vera? Can they use mineral water? Is there any alternative they can use?
I've tried everything. I've tried Astroglide. I have literally tried everything. There was a point in time where one of the devices that I used professionally was, they said we're no longer going to be selling into the US. They were a more international company. And I thought, where am I going to get my conductive gel? I bought as much as I could and it was just slowly running out. And I was testing everything possible. And I never got to a place where I liked one single thing. And it just worked out to where, as I just ran out of that gel, I was in the process of making the ZIIP. So I was getting my iterations of the golden gel, which was the first one I developed, and I was able to use that in a professional setting. What I recommend for people trying to save money, I would say keep this is just the base, right? Like $25, you can do it. Or you've got the one that comes with the halo. And then let's say you save up and you buy some silver gel. Like I said, you could use this main pumps and then put one or two pumps in, or just one pump of this and really eke that out. Or if you've just got other things like serums at home, you've got this, right? You could, and there's so many different skincare companies out there. So let's just talk broadly. You would want a serum that's going right in, that is soaking in. I would not recommend it that you're doing this with like a Retin-A or anything like that. I wouldn't even want you to, let's say, do a vitamin C. I wouldn't want anything that could become much more aggressive if it's intensified without me knowing exactly what it is. If you're putting on a serum, let's say it's got your hyaluronic acid, or it's soaking in nicely. And then you could put this over this. Is it going to improve absorption? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. Now, does it matter if it's water-based or oil-based, the serum?
Oil does block electricity.
Okay.
Oil resists electricity. And you're going to say, well, that's weird because the gels feel like oil. Glycerin it comes from sugar and it is a good conductor. So there is a difference between glycerin and, let's say, a mineral oil or an olive oil. There's a difference. And the problem with it resisting is that what will happen, like we just talked about, let's say you put a whole patch of oil on right here and you've got your gel, your zip on, and it's going to search for the path of least resistance. So let's say I'm holding it like this. It's going to go find the area outside of the patch and it's going to completely make a line like zzz, and concentrate that current in that one line, which if you're in a higher micro range on this, let's say you're up to 200 microamps or 400 microamps, that wouldn't be a good idea.
So if you want to something water-based below, just to stretch out the gel a little bit.
I would say yes, if you're going to,
good to
that's
know.
much safer.
Now, are there any contraindications? I have a friend who loves the device, but she gets migraines. She hasn't said she gets them from the device, but she is worried that the device could cause it. Have you heard anything like that? Or microcurrent in general?
Microcurrent in general. When I'm doing certain waveforms around the eyes, I know it's stimulating that optical nerve. So there might be like a tiny flutter. I always say, and I suffer from migraines, and for me, this always helps me. But I always make sure to say, if the fluttering light is a trigger for you for anything, I want you staying in the nano range. I want you doing founder's favorite, founder's favorite, founder's favorite. And then you could jump up to all inclusive, which doesn't go any higher than 200 microamps. And we could see how you do with that. The no-nos, if you have a pacemaker, it's just a no-no. If you're pregnant, always when you're pregnant, obviously we're saying no to everything, right? Once you've delivered, then you can get back on the train with your microcurrent. These are just me being very cautious safety precautions and safety measures.
I could talk to you for hours, but I know you probably have to go. But I have one more question. How do you feel about EMS? You know, EMS has gotten quite popular as well. I'm not a big fan of it because I am afraid of the burning out of the ATP. How do you feel about EMS compared to microcurrent?
It's very hard to just come out and say, yes, I'm into this, or no, I'm not into that, because it's just that that becomes a buzzword, but it's how I always say, people tell me, oh, I'm getting these frequencies in this treatment. Well, all that frequency means is how frequently does a waveform of electricity, of radio waves, of anything, how frequently does that waveform hit for 1 second? That is what frequency means. So it's just a loaded question. Like every single waveform I build has all 5 of those characteristics that I have to choose, and choose wisely, because as I mentioned, a tiny little change can make a huge difference. So that's a hard one for me to answer. It's hard because there's just so many variables that what I know is what I know. And it's what I really know is the microcurrent and the nanocurrent range and all the variations of it, and what in my mind is safe in here. I mean, obviously this is a huge planet of what is safe, but I don't like going out of that because yes, we can always hurt ourselves when we're doing something, and you think it's great at the time, and then the science comes out later saying, hey, it's not. You know, where microcurrent has been around forever, for a very long time. We know a lot more about it with the stimulation in the skin. We do. If you're thinking about it in terms of a language and speaking, when you actually are working with the language that you understand the message, right? But if I don't understand the language, how is the skin cell supposed to understand the command?
That's a good point.
Right.
Well, Melanie, I appreciate your time so much, and I've learned so much from you. And as soon as I'm going to hang up with you, I'm going to do the founder's favorite.
Good. That's what I was going to say. When you could get onto your app right now, go to Founder's Favorite, do it twice, and then we're going to talk about it later.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for inventing this amazing device.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Claudia.